I thought I would record it in case some of our members who couldn't be here today might be interested in this later, since it's a proposal for a project that I would like our club to consider. Just a little background. I first learned about this project when I was incoming governor in Indiana, and I went to
There's a thing on the screen there.
You have to click on it to accept that you agree with it being recorded. That's all.
yeah, it's
Then
not
it goes
me.
away.
Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, so when I was incoming governor, I went to the International Convention in Buenos Aires, and as some of you know, my husband died 3 months before I became governor. So I had a lot of change going on in my life, and I decided that I need to learn how to travel by myself. So I signed up for a post-convention tour with a group of Rotarians, because I thought that I don't know anybody, at least they're Rotarians, so I know they'll be nice to me. And the woman who was our tour guide was from the Rotary Club of Fort Collins, and she was really high on this project that her club does in the schools in Colorado. And I've been really interested in it ever since she told me about it. So I'm talking now more than 20 years ago. I've been really interested in finding a club that could partner with a school and actually carry this program out. We've had a couple clubs that were interested in doing it, but then they couldn't find a school that would cooperate. And I think we may have found one this time. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what the project is. I know Janet has gone through this in detail, so I may be boring her. But I'm hoping that if this is something our club decides to do, that Janet, as the school administrator, teacher sort of expert in our club, would take the lead on doing this project. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Rotary, this is the Rotary four-way test. It was officially adopted by Rotary International in 1943, and it's the ethics test by which Rotarians live their lives. And the club in Fort Collins had the idea that it would be good to have kids start learning about ethics at an earlier age. So in 1993, they came up with this proposal to introduce the four-way test in middle school. And they did it the first year in 1994. So they've been doing this for a long time. They usually do mostly ninth graders, but they do also eighth graders. They do some older high schoolers, and now even some elementary school kids. So it's an interactive program with voluntary student participation, student-led discussions, student-chosen topics for discussion. There's one Rotarian and 4 to 6 students per table for the discussion. Every student at the table is expected to take part, and it can be done during in-school or after school, depending on what schedule works out for the school itself. The way it works is that students write ethical situations that they've faced or they know somebody else who's faced. And then the teachers go over those and make sure that they're clearly written, that they're age appropriate for the kids that would participate in the discussion. Each dilemma then that is selected is written on a piece of paper, and they put it in a cup or an envelope. And then when the discussion starts, a dilemma is drawn from the cup, and that's the first one for discussion. The benefits of this program, it teaches values to young people. It allows for adult interactions with youth. It helps young people learn about ethical problem solving. Here are some of the kinds of topics that these kids come up with. You know, I know somebody that's being bullied. What should I do about it? Or bullying is a big problem in our school, and they usually end with the question, what would you do? So they have a whole scenario and then ask, what would you do? Another one is drugs. You know, I have a friend that's using drugs. What should I do? I have a friend that's cheating. I know he's cheating. What should I do about that? I know somebody's misbehaving. Should I tell on them and get them in trouble or not? These are some of the common themes that these kids come up with to talk about during this program. This is some of the comments from people that have been involved. You can see one there from a teacher at a junior high school in Fort Collins. You made them wonder, you made them question, you made them feel valuable. And that feeling valuable is a real important aspect of this, because kids appreciate it when adults take time out of their day and go and spend time with these kids, and not be lecturing them, but listening to them. It's a really important thing for a lot of kids, that an adult that they don't know is willing to come there and spend time with them. And comment there from one of the students, it made me reflect on my life and think about the decisions I make every day. I mean, that's what we want people to learn about ethics, is how it helps you make better decisions. So the school that I have that's interested in doing this with us is the Imago Dei Middle School. Now, some of our members are pretty familiar with it because we did a district grant project with them last year. Some of us have toured the school. And they told me that this 4-way test program really fits well with their educational objectives. So it's something that they think they might be interested in doing. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the school is located in downtown Tucson. It's an independent, tuition-free school. Imago Dei is actually associated with the Episcopal Church, but they accept kids of all faiths, all races, all cultures. They don't discriminate at all. It goes for grades 5 to 8. 100% of them are from low-income families. They're all these kids qualify for the free lunch program in order to go to this school. And the school's aim is to break the cycles of poverty, not just for these kids, but for their families, through quality education. And 90% of the students that go through their middle school at Imago Dei actually graduate from high school. That's a higher percentage than for most middle schools, especially ones that serve primarily a low-income population. And I think one of the keys to their success is that they treat the whole family, not just the kids. They have after-school programs. The alumni of their program are invited to go and hang out with the kids after school. Families come in and out of there. They have a pantry that is stocked primarily by the Trader Joe's down on Campbell. I think they get things from Fry's. So they have all kinds of non-perishable goods, plus the Casas Adobes Rotary Club gave them a commercial refrigerator, so they're able to keep produce and things fresh there. And the families, I think 2 or 3 different days a week, they can go in there and get whatever they need. When we toured the place, Fred and I were there that day. I think it was Trader Joe's have given them a whole bunch of flowers. Trader Joe's sells flowers, and at the end of the day, if they're not purchased, they just give them over to Imago Dei. So they also give these families bouquets of flowers if they happen to have them. Things that these people wouldn't ordinarily have an opportunity to purchase. A lot of the kids, well, at this time, 100% of the kids at that school are minority kids. Some of them are children of refugees and other immigrants. There's some folks from Somalia, from Afghanistan. So this school really is, in my view, unique in our community. And some of you remember when Mark Flanagan spoke to our club. He was at school for several years. He was a Rotary Peace Fellow, a very impressive guy. He went there as a Vista volunteer after he finished his master's degree in peace and conflict resolution through the Rotary Peace Fellows program. He's not there anymore. He had to go back east to take care of an ailing mother, but he was kind of our connection with that school to start with. But I've been very impressed with what they do and how well they serve the population that they have. And they really take advantage of being a downtown location too. They take these kids to, the art gallery. I mean, there are things within walking distance of that school that kids at normal suburban type middle schools wouldn't ever be able to see. So if we decide to do this project, here's some of the things that we would need to do, not just us, but the others involved. Our Rotary Club would have to have trained facilitators for each table. So I think if we do this, we need to get facilitator training. And I don't know if we can do that in-house with our own members, or we need to get an outside person to teach facilitation. But it's really important that Rotarians who would be at each table know the proper way to facilitate, that they don't take over the discussion, that they respect the kids, that they kind of lay back unless they're really needed for some reason. So I think the training is pretty essential. Then for each session, we'd have to have some materials for them, like they suggested a tent card with the 4-way test written on it, one for each table, name tags for all the people there, evaluations for the participants, and then the Fort Collins Club gives every kid a 4-way test coin at the end. It's kind of a keepsake of having participated. They're not real expensive. We can get them in bulk from Russell Hampton if we decide to do it. I think it's kind of nice for a kid to have something to take away from the experience. The school and the teachers would select the students. It's all voluntary, so students would sign up that they want to participate, and the school and the teachers would pick the ones for each session. They would assign the students to tables, and they would do the event space setup for the program, and then they would assist in selecting topics. You can't just take every topic a kid comes up with, because not all of them are appropriate for discussion. Or as Janet pointed out, some of the ones in the example materials they gave us were not age appropriate for grades 5 to 8. So those are some of the things the school would have to do. Janet suggested also we might want to get an MOU with the school if we take on this project. The students propose the topics. They take turns as discussion leader, so they each get an experience of being a discussion leader. Everybody at the table is expected to participate in the discussion, and it's part of the discussion leader's job to make sure that everybody gets a chance to be heard. And then at the end of this discussion, someone would summarize the discussion from their table, and then they would fill out an evaluation of the program at the end. And I think that's my whole slideshow. So I'm presenting this to you to see if it's something that you think we could do, if it's something that you're interested in doing. Because if we make this commitment, we really have to make sure that our members are going to show up as expected and be available to facilitate the discussions and so forth. So I'm hoping we could do this, but it's not my decision, it's the rest of you. So I'll throw it in there.
Terry, is this something that's a one-time thing, or would this be ongoing, like once a month you do this, or what is the?
It's more of an ongoing, like once a month is probably good, and maybe not for the whole school year, maybe only, one term or one quarter. That have to be worked out with the school, but it's not a one-shot thing. It's a more than once event.
Right.
And Terry, would the event be at the school, kind of
Yes,
in that large meeting room that we saw there?
I expect so. I don't know what's going on with school right now, and I expect they're all on break, and I don't know if the wildly spreading Omicron is going to affect their operations. I don't know if they're going to continue with in-person school. My guess is a project like this, they wouldn't want to start unless there's a significant decrease in cases, especially among children. I don't think they'd want a bunch of outsiders coming there while the virus is raging in our community. And I've emailed my contact there, but I think they're probably all on break. So I probably won't hear from her until next week. But if they are interested in pursuing it, I mean, maybe we wouldn't start until next fall. There's plenty of time to prepare and get all the materials. And then I would suggest that whoever the school would have to coordinate it would get in talks with Janet, and the two of them could figure out how to proceed. But I really want to know if this is something that appeals to you, because we need buy-in in order to make it work.
Terry, I would love to. This is a time when the students, their formative years, and I would be glad to do whatever I can to help with this and participate, in a semester limit or whatever.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I think it's a great project simply because I sure did want to get something going originally for girls, but this would have so much benefit to everybody participating, both from experiencing a leadership role as well as participating and solving problems and issues. I think it's great.
I also think it's an excellent project for our club, because it's like so relevant to our, the direction that we're talking about for our club, focusing on youth and, making a difference in the lives of youth, that I think it just fits so well, I believe.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
I had a question about the facilitators, or, like how would they be trained, and how long does that training take?
Joe's probably a better expert on that than I am. We've trained all the facilitators that we have for the Rotary Leadership Institute. And we did Doug Woodard actually do that training one of the times, Joe? I'm thinking maybe he did.
I did not, Wade Namira did the training. I just participated.
Okay. We've got some Rotarians that are probably available, and we might even be able to do that training on Zoom. I don't know. But it's just,
I would do that.
it's learning how to not dominate the discussion, how to make sure everybody participates, how to be respectful of people's opinions, and there is some art to it. So I don't think we'd want to send people into the school without some training. I would say an hour to 2 hours training would be plenty. The project itself, the duration of the interaction with the kids is about an hour. They want the Rotarians to get there 15 minutes early to make sure everything's set up and ready to go. But the whole thing takes about an hour.
Terry, my guess would be that the first time we might need a 2-hour session to talk about process and then to run some, go through a couple of dry runs,
Yeah,
role playing, and maybe a hour before the second session as a rewind of how the first one went, plus some similar role playing to just to make sure that people who aren't who haven't done this type of thing feel comfortable in front of the kids. So that would be my guess. And it would depend on how detailed the training would be, how much experience we've had and so forth. What do you think, Jan?
Thank you, Joe, because I was sitting here and I'm like, oh, I have lots of ideas because while you might be a facilitator for adults, a facilitator for elementary, middle school would be totally different.
well, that's a
And
truth.
so some of the points that would need to be covered, you know, is about, again, active listening, and just also being able to assign kids roles. Well, yes, someone's going to be a leader, but you know, there are certain things that you can do with middle school kids to keep them focused and on track. And I think those are little tricks that should be embedded in that training as well. So I think also doing the like role playing, very important because and also I also want to revisit having a lot of kids in a room. My experience with middle school, and I don't know these kids at all, so maybe they're all very well behaved and they're all going to stay on task. I'd like to talk about that point at some point. So
It sounds like you might be a good person to train our members on how to facilitate middle school kids. Because you're right, most of us had our training with adult learners, and it's very
Yeah.
different.
I wouldn't want to, and I know you said it somewhat jokingly, Terry, I wouldn't want to create a situation where Janet is stuck with doing training. Her background and her skills would be so useful in helping us to plan the training and perhaps go outside to find a trainer, perhaps not. But I just, I can think of 4 million things we could ask Janet to do in the next month because she is so fresh in terms of experience and working with kids. At the same time, been there, done that, and I don't want to overdo the volunteer pressure.
well, that's okay, but we have to also remember it's just not the kids, it's working with the teachers and how to respect their part in this situation as well. So I think that's also a conversation, or if teachers are going to participate, then also, you know, myself or Terry, we'd have to also do a little presentation to the teachers, what exactly we're going to do. And that's why I suggested a memorandum of understanding, just to allow the school to fully understand what is the scope of the work that we want to do, so there's no, you know, misunderstandings.
Good idea.
When
Kind of
I was,
interesting for me, I had a team of trainers at one of the insurance companies I worked for, and our challenge was to train the trainers on how to deal with adult training, because that was unique in itself. So is this. So anyway.
And you know, Joe, I don't mind, you know, I did all the professional development for the principals in my school district. So I could do it if everyone would like, and if not, that's okay.
I would love it myself.
I think that's very gracious, and I would enjoy going through that training.
I would too, Jan.
Thank you, Joanne.
Sounds like you've got a total vote of confidence here, Jan.
That's a very positive response to this project.
When my son was 6 years old, he was bullied. And I promised that I won't do what I did then. He was being thrown, they were throwing snowballs at him. And I, as the mother, got out and helped him throw snowballs back. I promised that I will take the training.
Well, I would love it if it would snow here, but I don't think that's good.
Yeah.
You may get your wish tonight or tomorrow night.
Hmm.
So,
Terry, what is the anticipated cost? Not including training itself, but what do you see as expenses?
I
It
think
looks
it's
pretty cheap.
almost nothing. We'd have to purchase if we choose to give them the coins, we'd have to purchase the four-way test coins from Russell Hampton. I should have looked up the cost before I did this today, but I didn't do it. And then, we may have to pay for parking downtown because on-street parking isn't too easy. Except the day Fred and I went down there, it was a holiday, so it was easy peasy, but it's not normally that way. There's a garage that's within a block of the school. So I think people should expect to pay for their own parking if they go down there to facilitate.
I think those coins are a very nice touch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they cost much. They come in
they
a
don't.
big, you get like 100 or 100 of them from Russell. My dad's caregiver's coming to pick him up for dinner. So I'm gonna put myself on mute.
So what would be the next steps?
The next steps would be hearing back from the school and seeing what their commitment level is. And I think maybe if I could meet with them, I think that would be great. Because we have to see if they're on the fence, so to speak, or they're not sure, I think it's always better to talk to someone in person and give them, they want to meet, who are you, of course. Developing that relationship with the school first.
Yes.
And seeing where we are with that. So really the next step is meeting with the school and seeing where they are.
Okay.
So it sounds like there's, good support from the club,
Yeah.
at least these members. And I'd be happy to, get a formal approval, from the board, but I can't imagine that would not be forthcoming. It's looks like an excellent project.
Mhm.
So any
I
other
also
questions?
want to, I'm sorry, Fred, I didn't mean to
Okay.
interrupt you. I also
Yeah.
want to thank Terry so much for reaching out to me because I've been looking for something to do. Besides, some other projects I have going on right now, but thank you, Terry. Appreciate that.
I appreciate your willingness to take part. You're like a perfect fit for this project. And like I said, I've wanted to do this for 20 years. So if I can get somebody that can pull it off, it'll make me very happy.
And Imago Day School is, a really good choice, I think, as well, Terry. That's excellent choice.
Thanks.
So,
Okay, I'm done with my part, Fred. Take it over.
okay. So I guess the end of our meeting is reciting the four-way test. Terry, would you like to lead us in that?
Hey, I don't know if I can remember it, Fred. The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number 1,
Is it the truth?
Number 2,
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number 3,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
and number 4,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy
And,
New Year.
Our next meeting will be our reinventing our strategic planning on January 6th. So look forward to seeing, speaking with you all then.
Thank
I'm
you.
waiting for you, Joe.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Happy New Year.
guests, for coming.
Thank you, of course.